Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Before reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Guruvi Gauri Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Namaha Pankaja Nabhaya Namaha Pankaja Maline Namaha Pankaja Nitraya Namaste Pankajangri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namo Kinchana Vittaya Nivritta Gunavrittaye Atmaramaya Shantaya Kevalye Pataye Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Granth Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 12, the Mohini-murti Incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead bewilders Lord Shiva. So what has happened so far? That Lord Shiva, along with his family and along with his associates, has gone to the abode of Lord Mukunda or Madhava, and he is eager to see that form. And then the Lord Shiva, from text number 4 onwards, is offering multiple prayers, and Prabhupada is giving very detailed purport in the last purport we read in 3 pages, that how the Lord is the supreme. He is the cause and the effect are same yet different. Achintya bheda bhed. Everything is actually in one way Krishna. And I was thinking, some of you may have seen or heard Her Grace Nitai Sevani Mataji's lecture, and how they end. Sab Krishna, Krishna, Krishna lage. Right? That everything is Krishna in one way. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we will start worshipping any stone as the Supreme Lord, that we'll start worshipping any pen as the Supreme Lord, or any water as the Supreme Lord. So the Lord remains, the Lord does not lose his identity, even though he is present everywhere through his energies, but yet he is the Supreme Lord, who is always Satchidananda and always that person. So with that, let's continue with the next verse, text number 9. Share my screen. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tvam Brahma Kechid Avayayanti Utadharmameke Eke Param Sad Asato Purusham Paresham Anye Avayanti Navashakti Yutam Param Tvam Kechin Mahapurusham Avyayam Atmatantram. Translation by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Those who are known as impersonalist Vedantists regard you as impersonal Brahman. Others, known as Mimamsaka philosophers, regard you as religion. The Sankya philosophers regard you as the transcendental person who is beyond Prakriti and Purusha, and who is the controller of even the demigods. The followers of the codes of devotional service known as the Pancaratras regard you as being endowed with nine different potencies, and the Patanjala philosophers, the followers of Patanjali Muni, regard you as the supreme independent personality of Godhead, who has no equal or superior. Hare Krishna. So here in this verse, different philosophers regard the Lord differently. The Vedantis as the impersonal Brahman, the Mimamsaka philosophers as the religion or dharma, Sankya philosophers as is beyond the Prakriti and Purusha, and the Pancharatra philosophers as the Lord endowed with Nava Shakti. The word used here is I believe Nava Shakti. Yeah, Avayayanti Nava Shakti. So, what are these nine Shaktis? Is Vimala, Utkarshini, Jnana, Kriya, Yoga, Prahvi, Satya, Ishani, Anugraha. So these are nine Shaktis of the Lord. And then the Patanjali philosophers are considered as the supreme independent Lord with no equal or independent. So there is a point here of all these philosophers, the Pancharatras are accepted by the Supreme Lord. Those who follow the Pancaratrika Vidhi under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master can understand the absolute truth. If one practices Bhakti Yoga by taking shelter of Lord Krishna, simply by hearing about him, speaking about him, one can know everything about him. So, in short, amongst these different munne matir bhinne, different people have different ideas. In the Ramayana also there is a very nice chopai that I don't know the exact chopai, but in the essence that whoever has whatever kind of inclination will see the Lord in that form. And this comes in the when Lord goes to Mathura, everyone saw the Lord in a different way. Right? It was a very sweet pastime when the Supreme Lord Krishna went to Mathura, like Vasudev and Devaki saw as the supreme, as their beloved child. The Kamsa saw him as his Kal, as his enemy. The other Brajvasis some saw as a beautiful young child. Some saw as a beautiful playmate, friend. Some as a lover, some as a child. Some so basically, in whatever way. Now that does not mean we concoct different ways. So like the Vedantis or the impersonal Brahman, that is the incomplete understanding. So the best understanding is through the Bhakti Yoga process. And what is that understanding? Understanding the Lord with the different Shaktis, with the in its complete absolute form as a person. So, in short, if we want to understand the Lord completely, how can we understand? We cannot understand. But through the process of Bhakti Yoga, that means through the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, through hearing about the Lord. We don't see the Lord through our eyes, we see the Lord through our ears. And that's basically Bhakti Yoga. By hearing about him, by chanting his holy names, by hearing Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, etc., different pastimes, name, form, qualities, etc., then we'll be able to understand. Without that, it's impossible. Or we may come to wrong conclusions if we try to understand by our own or through non-bona fide parampara. Any other comments anyone has?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my question is, that is this Pancaratras, that is devotional service. This is the Bhakti Yoga, because Narada Pancaratrika also we follow. These are the same thing, Bhakti Yoga, Pancharatra, Narada Pancharatra.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, yeah, the Narad Pancharatra, and there are the two vidhis actually, the Narad Pancharatra and the Bhagavat Vidhi, the Narada Pancharatriki Vidhi and Bhagavat Vidhi. So, there is a nice bhajan that Ekantiki, when one's give a Pancharatriki Vidhi Utsrijya, when one gives up that Vidhi, the rules and regulations, and Ekantiki Bhaktir Eva Utpat Eva Kalpate. That means that would lead to utpat or trouble in the society. That means if one concocts one's own ideas, yet at the same time, our hearing and chanting more is based on the Bhagavat Vidhi. But for the deity worship, we follow more of the Pancharatriki Vidhi. So, in short, Prabhupada and senior Vaishnavas mentioned these are like the parallel tracks of a train. So, the train cannot run on one track. So we cannot just say, well, everything is hearing and chanting, forget about rules and regulations. That's not the idea, at least for a neophyte souls. For a devotee like Haridas Thakur, everything is transcendental. They don't need any rules and regulations or at that level. But now, too much rules and regulations and ignoring the core Bhagavad Vidhi like hearing and chanting is also not the idea. So we have to nicely balance uh, the Pancharatriki Vidhi and the Bhagavat Vidhi. And that's basically the process which Srila Prabhupada is given through his books, through his classes, through his devotees. That's what basically we sum up as Bhakti Yoga in
Thank you, Guruji. Very nice.
Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to add or share anything else on these lines? Okay, let's move on to the next verse, text number 10. Would someone like to read this one? Shikha Mataji, you want to read? Yeah. And your husband, I believe. I'm not wrong. Are you interested
Hare
to
Krishna,
read?
Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Naham parayurrisyo na marichi mukhya jananti yad virachitam khalu satru sargaha yanmaya mushichet sa ishaditya matyadaya kimud shashvat bhadra pratah. Prabhuji, please slide upwards. Put by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O my Lord, who am I considered to be the best of the demigods, and Lord Brahma and the great rishis, headed by Marichi, are born of the mode of goodness. Nonetheless, we are bewildered by your illusory energy and cannot understand what this creation is. Aside from us, what is to be said of others, like the demons and human beings, who are in the base modes of material nature, Rajoguna and Tamoguna? How will they know you? Put by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Factually speaking, even those who are situated in the material mode of goodness cannot understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then is to be said of those who are situated in Rajoguna and Tamoguna, the base qualities of material nature? How can we even imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead? There are so many philosophers trying to understand the absolute truth, but since they are situated in the base qualities of material nature and are addicted to so many bad habits like drinking, meat eating, illicit sex, and gambling, how can they conceive of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? For them, it is impossible. For the present day, the Pancharatriki Vidhi is enunciated by Narada Muni is the only hope. Srila Rupa Goswami, therefore, has quoted the following verse from the Brahma Yamla. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Ekantikī Harer Bhaktir Utpatavya Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishad, Purans, and Narada Pancaratrika is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. Prabhuji, please slide. Slide up, Prabhuji, please. Prabhuji, please slide up. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, those who are very advanced in knowledge and are situated in the mode of goodness follow the Vedic instructions of the Shruti and Smriti and other religious scriptures, including the Pancharatriki Vidhi, without understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, one only creates a disturbance. In this age of Kali, so many gurus have sprung up, and because they do not refer to the Shruti, Smriti, Pranadi, Pancharatriki Vidhi, they are creating a great disturbance in the world in regard to understanding the absolute truth. However, those who follow the Pancharatriki Vidhi under the guidance of a proper spiritual master can understand the absolute truth. It is said, Pancharatrasya Kṛṣṇasya Vakta tu Bhagwan Swayam. The Pancharatra system is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like Bhagavad Gita. Vasudeva Sharanam Vidur Anj Seva. The truth can be understood only by one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Vasudeva. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnav Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Only those who have surrendered to the lotus feet of Vasudeva can understand the absolute truth. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah Jnanayatya asu vairagyam jnanam cha yad ahitukam. Be rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Therefore, Vasudeva Bhagwan Sri Krishna personally teaches in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.6. Bhaktya Mam Abhijananti Yavan Yas Chasmi Tatvatah. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not properly understood even by Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, what to speak of others, but he can be understood by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Maya asakta mana partha yogam yugnin mad ashraya asamshyam samagram mam yatha gyansi tachurna. If one practices Bhakti Yoga by taking shelter of Vasudeva Krishna, simply by hearing Vasudeva speak about himself, one can understand everything about him. Indeed, one can understand him completely. It is Samagram. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, sorry for the mistakes.
Thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji, for reading. So it's so nice that we were just talking about it, and Prabhupada is mentioning it here. Ekantiki Harir Bhakti Utpateva Kalpati. That means without guidance of Guru, without proper Shruti, Smriti scriptures, without bona fide teachers, if one just concocts the system of bhakti, then it will lead to trouble in society, trouble for one's own self and trouble for others as well. So the question may come, what is Shruti here and what is Smriti here? Would raise your hand if you would like to answer either one of them. The word Shruti and Smriti is coming here a couple of times. Anyone knows? Raise your hand if you know. Yes, Jyoti Mataji, please tell. Okay, Sudhir Prabhu, you want to tell?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Here is remembering. So Shruti are the way. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I could not hear you properly. I think you said Smriti is remembrance. Your voice is breaking.
Prabhuji, Shruti are the Vedas.
Correct? Okay, nice. Yes, Sudhir Prabhu, you want to add or elaborate?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, I think what Mataji said is correct. Shruti means remembrance. Smriti means remembrance, and Shruti is speaking, like Smaranam and Kirtanam, and then Shruti is to say. Prabhuji, that's my understanding. And Smriti means remembrance.
Okay. Anyone else?
Like revelation also, right, Prabhuji?
The Shruti scriptures. Yes, Kashish Mataji wants to say.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. The Shruti Samhita was written by Naradji. It was a pastime when he saw Radharani in the Kishori form. That time he got inspired to write Shruti Samhita.
Basically, it's a two category of scriptures. Okay, the Shruti means directly heard. Okay, directly heard from the bona fide or the words of the Supreme Lord, primarily referring to the Vedas. And Smriti means expansion of that, right? Smriti scriptures are like more elaboration on those topics, like Upanishads, Puranas, etc. are in that category. Smriti scriptures. So there are two category of they're both bona fide. It's not that Shruti is valid and Smriti are not valid. And sometimes so-called teachers may sometimes say, well, it doesn't say in Vedas, it says in Upanishad. So the intelligent people don't distinguish between Shruti scriptures and Smriti scriptures. They're both bona fide, equally bona fide, because they're not given by any Tom, Dick, Harry. Of course, Vedas, we know, the literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord. It's like, if I tell like even in science, sometimes there's an axiom, like gravitational force is 9.8 meter per second square. That the units I forgot that, right? That's the G value. But now someone could write a 5-page article on that same G, correct? If someone is a bona fide teacher and writes a 5-page article on that G or the gravitational force, is that wrong? What do you say? It's not wrong, but that is a bona fide teacher to help that complex subject to understand, for others to understand in a simple way. A bona fide teacher is elaborating about it. That's basically Smriti. So it's the expansion. So Shruti scriptures and Smriti scriptures, both are bona fide. And therefore, they say Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Adi, Pancharatriki, Vidhim Vina. Vina means ignore. If we neglect these scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, etc., and do Ekantiki Bhakti, that will not lead to any good. That's the main point here. That means that the scriptures are specifically meant for our benefit. When the Supreme Lord saw the condition of jivas, in this world, then he expanded himself as these wonderful scriptures. And we know there's the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. When Krishna winded up his pastimes, he expanded as Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So in short, these are all bona fide scriptures. Now, how do we understand? We understand through proper Guru Parampara, through proper scriptures, through proper association of devotees, and taking shelter. And what is the main limb of bhakti? Through hearing, tat shrinu, Bhagavad Gita 7:1. By understanding through 9 processes of bhakti, through the different processes of bhakti. And how does the 9 processes begin with? Shravanam. The word Shravan is Prabhupada's favorite word. You see, anytime the word Shravan comes, Prabhupada will give a detailed purport. This is my personal observation. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 1, Prabhupada gives a list of 7 verses about the glories of Shravana, because the word Shravan came there. That's Shrinu. What happens? Shrunvatam swakata Krishna punya Shravana kirtana hridayantasta bhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Anytime the word Shravan comes, Prabhupada is so ecstatic and gives the detail every time about glories of Shravana. The bhakti, this begins with Shravana. Bhakti means the process to see Krishna through our ears, not through our eyes. Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also noticed that how Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Babu at that time had a special attraction towards hearing. We don't try to see Krishna, try to serve Krishna, so Krishna wants to see you. So all these principles are just telling again and again about Vasudeva Bhagavat Bhakti or Bhakti Yoga. And in the Bhakti Yoga, the main is Shravanam. So in that way, one who no one can understand, even Lord Shiva is saying, myself, Brahma, Marichi, they are transcendental personalities in pure goodness. Out of their humility, a devotee never feels, I can understand the Lord. How can we understand the Lord? So in short, how can people who are in the lower modes like passion and ignorance try to understand Krishna? Never. So in short, this the one idea, also one lesson here is that we should try to uplift our consciousness, our mode from ignorance to passion to goodness, and not just stay there, but to come to pure goodness, which is bhakti or akarma. Then only we'll be able to understand God. Then only we'll be able to try to understand God. Then only we'll be able to feel the presence of God. Then only we'll be able to relish Krishna and his name, form, and activities, etc. So in short, being in the lower modes, how will we understand God? It's like impossible. So first we need to purify ourselves. Krishna came when all the Shadgarbhas were cleared, right? The famous, in the womb of Devaki, the first 6 were the first 6 children were destroyed. That represents lust, anger, greed, envy, the Shadgarbhas. When they are cleared, then Krishna appears. In the Janmashtami, we discuss this pastime every time. It's an important lesson to purify basically ourselves. When we cook something, do we use an unclean vessel? No, we don't use unclean vessels for cooking. First we clear the vessels and then we make the fresh preparation. So similarly, we have to clear the vessel of our heart to invite Krishna in the chambers of our heart. And how will that happen? Shrunvatam Swakata Krishna, by the process of hearing. His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gives this example. Right now my heart is full of mud or dirt or impurities. Okay? So let's imagine my heart, my consciousness is like a container, okay, which is full of muddy water, dirty water, contaminated thoughts, etc. Now, From the container is like imagine like a 5-liter container or 2-liter, whatever, imagine a container full of dirty thought, dirt. Okay. Now I start pouring the pure Krishna Katha in it. Okay, the nectar, Krishna Katha Amrita. What will happen? Who will tell? So I'm pouring the nectar, Nigama Kalpaturur Galitam Phalam Shukhamukhad Amritam Dravya Rasam. This nectar, this smoothie of Krishna Katha from the mouth of Shukdev Goswami. What will happen in that container? It's full of bad thoughts or liquid of bad thoughts, dirty water. What will happen? Anyone would like to tell?
To purify, the container will be purified.
What will happen? The immediate next step, what will happen? Will it not get purified? What's the first step it will happen?
Dilute.
It will start to overflow, right? As Prabhuji said, if it's 100% bad water or bad muddy water, so the pure water is going, it will start to overflow, correct? And in the overflowing, the muddy water is also going out slowly. So the concentration of muddy water or bad material in it will start to go down. Do you all agree? If it's 100% muddy, it will go to slowly 95% muddy, 90% muddy, provided we keep the tap of Krishna Katha on, correct? So we keep the nectar flowing in, the muddy water will slowly, the concentration will reduce. And one will feel that, yes, I'm getting purified. My thoughts are getting better. My desires to enjoy material world are reducing. That's a sign of purification. Earlier, my desire to watch TV, my desire to talk gossip, my desire to find faults, my desire to waste time is reducing. It's a sign of purification, right? Earlier, we may be doing all those things and we may not even realize that our time, precious time, is getting wasted. And slowly, after a couple of years, couple of months, what will happen? The concentration of muddy water will almost be zero. And the nectar, the pot of our heart will be filled with only pure Krishna Katha. So I like this example by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I hope you all also liked. Any thoughts or comments, additions? Okay, so let's keep moving with the next verse, text number 11. Would someone like to read this one? Tarai wants to read. Tari? Did I say Tara? What's your name? I'm not able to pronounce, I guess. Tari?
Prabhuji, it's Tyra.
Oh, please forgive me. I'm such a fool, I can't even pronounce your name properly. Taira, Mataji, please read.
Okay, Prabhuji. Satvam samhitam adha sthiti janmanasam bhute hitam cha jagato bhava bandha mokshao vayuryatha visati kham chara kham sarvam tad atmaka taya vagamo varun se. Prabhuji, please show the translation. My Lord, you are supreme knowledge personified. You know everything about this creation and its beginning, maintenance and annihilation, and you know all the endeavors made by living entities by which they are either implicated in this material world or liberated from it. As the air enters the vast sky and also enters the bodies of all moving and non moving entities, you are present everywhere. Therefore, you are the knower of all. Purport, as stated in Brahma Samhita, Ekopaya asa araskamitam jagad anda kotim yachaktir asti jagatya anda chakchaya yatantaha andantara sthata paramunu chayantara stam govindam adipurusham tam aham bhajami. I worship the personality of Godhead, Govinda, who by one of his plenary portion enters the extenses of every universe and every atomic particle and thus manifests his infinite energy unlimitedly throughout the material creation. Ananda Sinmaya Rasa Pratibha Vitabhistada Tabherya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabhi Gokola Eva Nivastai Akhilitam Bhuto Govindam Adipurusham Tad Aham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and who embodies the ecstatic potency. Their compassions and her confidence, who embody extensions of her bodily form and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. Although Govinda is always present in his abode, Goloka eva Nisasaviti, he is simultaneously present everywhere. Nothing is unknown to him and nothing can be hidden from him. The example given here compares the Lord to the air, which is within the vast sky and within every body, but still is different from everything. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Taira Mataji, now I'll say it correctly. Very nicely, you read. Thank you.
Prabhuji, sorry, there were so many mistakes. Hare Krishna.
Oh no. Krishna only sees good. Ishvara Sabhaver Bhaktir Nalai Aparadha Alpa Seva Bahumani Atma Prayanta Prasada. You know,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna does not see any mistake. Krishna only sees good. So don't worry. There's a nice story in this regard. Once upon a time, a guru in Gurukul said, he gave apple to all his students and said, well, all of you go in a solitary place where a place no one is watching you, where no one is, you're just by yourself, and eat the apple. Okay? Some students said, why do we wait so much? They just ate right there. Forget about Guru. Some went just behind the hut of Guru's ashram. Well, says no one is watching. Guru is not there. Other students are also not there. Let's eat the apple. Some went deeper in the fields, and they saw everyone is quite far, and they ate the apple there. One person, this wonderful soul, was going everywhere, and days passed, and the apple was still in his hand. And the Guru asked him, well, why have you not eaten the apple? So the disciple said, well, my dear Gurudev, you told us to eat the apple where no one is watching us. So I went to different places. I went inside the ashram. There were some kids there, some other students. I went outside. Sometimes the birds were watching me. I went sometimes even in the open area where there were no birds. The sun was watching me. If sun was not there, the moons were there. Sometimes the clouds were watching. Sometimes the stars were watching. Sometimes even if in a deep dark cave I went, no sun, no moon, no stars, but the Paramatma is always there. In short, the Lord is the supreme knower. That's the theme of this verse. Therefore, Lord Shiva is saying, you are the knower of all. You know all the endeavors made by the living entities by which either they implicate themselves in the material world or they liberate themselves from the material world. So, in short, whatever activities we do, whatever karma we perform, whether good karma, bad karma, or transcendental karma or akarma, Lord is watching and writing all his whatever every jiva is doing, the Lord has in his database. And at the right time, through his energies or directly through himself, he will give the fruits of all of those. So that means that we should never feel that I am by myself. No one is watching me, so I can do what I like. Okay, our parents may not be watching, or for those who may have family, they may see, look, the young people may think, oh, the parents are outside, now I can do anything. Or no, my wife is not watching, my husband is not watching, or my friends are not watching, I can do anything. But can we say that Krishna is not watching us at any time? No. He is like the air. The analogy is, he's like the air. He's Paramatma. He accompanies us always. He's always watching us. He's always watching each and every activity. Sometimes we may do something and we may not get the credit of that, right? Or we may do something bad and we may not get the punishment of that. So we may skip through the eyes of the mortal people of this world, but we cannot skip through the eyes of the Supreme Lord because his eyes are very big. He's Jagannath. So the point is that we should always feel that Krishna is watching me. My spiritual master is watching me. What would I do if Krishna is watching me? Would I do this thing which I'm doing? If the answer is yes, then great. Let's keep doing. If the answer is no, then I should stop doing those things. Correct? And we all can self-reflect on this, and we will get the answers. Because Krishna is watching, and not just he's watching, he is keeping a record also. So in short, we should do more and more bhakti, more and more we should utilize our time in spiritual activities because he's watching. He's watching how many hours we are watching TV and how many hours we are opening Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. He's watching how much time we are thinking of Krishna and how much time we are thinking of getting more money. How much time we are thinking about the worshipping deities and worshipping devotees and how much time we are worshipping our own senses. He's watching everything. So he's a supreme knower. We cannot cheat him. And there's no, sorry, that option does not exist. We can cheat others, we can tell lies to others, the ordinary people of this world, but we cannot cheat him. He's present everywhere. Andantarastvatvaramanujayantarastam. In the minutest of the atom, he's present. And the biggest of the universes, he's present. So he's all pervading. Any other thoughts, comments, anyone? Okay, it's almost 8:45. I know some devotees want to read, but we'll continue. Okay. But any reflections, questions before we pause today? Okay, so we will continue tomorrow with the next verse, text number 12. We discuss about the supreme unknowable and the supreme knower in text 10 and 11. So we'll continue with Lord Shiva's prayers in 12 and 13, and then the Lord will speak from text 14 onwards. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम पुराण की जय। वैष्णवानाम यथा शंभु भगवान शिव की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। वंशा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। So much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.